The apartment smelled faintly like steam and burnt coffee. Elias stood over the ironing board in socks and sweatpants, dragging the iron carefully across the black graduation gown he'd borrowed from the department office. The fabric resisted every crease like it had its own memory. His phone buzzed twice on the counter, first from his advisor, proud of you today. Don't disappear before the faculty photos. Then another message from an unknown number. Here, parking sucks. He stared at it longer than necessary. His father hadn't confirmed he was coming, hadn't asked what time the ceremony started. 3 weeks earlier, he'd confused graduation day with move-out weekend during a phone call that lasted under 4 minutes. Elias set the phone face down and kept ironing. The auditorium was louder than he expected. Families clustered in islands of noise, flowers, cameras, siblings already bored. Elias adjusted the blue honor cord around his neck while the graduates lined up backstage. That was when he saw him, 3 sections up. Near the aisle, his father sat leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, phone in hand, scrolling through photos. Every few seconds, he'd glance up at the crowd of students entering. Then he turned to the woman beside him. Elias couldn't hear everything from that distance, only fragments. Blue cord? The woman answered politely. His father nodded like he was assembling instructions too late. Elias looked away before the embarrassment fully landed. Not sharp embarrassment, nothing dramatic anymore, just something old, something tired. When he was 9, his father missed a school concert because of work. At 12, he forgot Elias had made the regional debate finals. At 16, he spent an entire dinner talking about his own divorce without once asking about college applications sitting in Elias's backpack. None of those moments ruined him individually. That was the difficult part. Neglect rarely arrived as a single event you could point to. It accumulated quietly until one day you realized you had learned not to expect witness from the people who were supposed to know you best. A coordinator opened the auditorium doors wider. Processional starts in 2 minutes. The graduates straightened instinctively. Elias felt someone touch his sleeve lightly. Professor Hart adjusted the twisted cuff of his gown without ceremony. There, she said. You looked like you slept in it. I almost did. She smiled once. Briefly. You earned today. Try to stay inside it for a minute. Then she moved on. The kindness nearly undid him more than anything else. The ceremony blurred in pieces. Names. A plaza heat trapped beneath polyester. Elias stopped looking toward the audience halfway through the speeches. The habit dissolved on its own. Years of searching crowds for one particular face suddenly felt exhausting. When his row finally stood, he felt strangely calm. He crossed the stage to polite applause that swelled unexpectedly after the dean read the line beneath his name. Recipient of the Keller Research Fellowship, joining the Geneva Institute this fall. The dean shook his hand twice instead of once. That's a big one, he murmured into the microphone accidentally. The audience laughed softly, then clapped harder. Elias noticed movement in the crowd, his father standing a second too late, trying to catch up to the moment everyone else already understood. Outside, families gathered beneath the stone archways for photos. His father found him near the reception tables. There you are, he said, slightly breathless, like they'd been separated accidentally instead of structurally. Up close, he looked older than Elias remembered. Gray threading through his beard, reading glasses tucked into his shirt collar. You never told me this Geneva thing was serious. I mentioned it. Yeah, but... His father hesitated. I didn't realize it was that serious. Elias nodded once. Nearby, someone called his name. A faculty member waving from across the courtyard. His father noticed. For the first time in Elias's memory, he seemed uncertain around him. Not angry, not dismissive, careful. When do you leave? His father asked. August. They paying for everything? Most of it. His father absorbed that quietly. The conversation felt unfamiliar now, as if some invisible authority had shifted while neither of them were paying attention. For years, his father had spoken to him with automatic seniority, the permanent confidence of someone who assumed time itself guaranteed relevance. Now there was caution in his voice, like he understood, at least partially, that Elias no longer needed anything approved. Can we get a picture? His father asked eventually. Elias almost said no, not from anger. Mostly because he knew a photograph could not retroactively create presence, but he agreed anyway. A passing student took the phone. They stood shoulder to shoulder beneath the university seal. His father smiled too widely. Elias smiled politely. Kick done. Immediately afterward, Professor Hart approached with the department chair and 2 research fellows from Geneva. They launched into conversation about visas, housing, publication schedules. People shook Elias's hand repeatedly. His father stood beside them listening while strangers described his son with familiarity and respect he himself had never developed. No one excluded him. No one embarrassed him. That made it worse. Eventually, his father checked his watch. Well, he said, I should get on the road. Elias nodded. There was a pause where something honest nearly surfaced, an apology maybe, or grief, but his father only lifted the folded ceremony program slightly. Proud of you, he said. The words arrived late enough to sound fragile. Elias believed he meant them. That didn't make them complete. Thanks for coming, Elias answered. And he did mean that too. His father walked toward the parking garage alone. Elias watched until the crowd swallowed him. Then someone from the faculty group called his name again, and he turned back toward the reception tables where people were already making room for him in conversations about the future. That night, the graduation photo appeared online. Friends commented beneath it immediately. His father looked happy in the picture. Elias looked calm. What the image didn't show was everything waiting just outside the frame. The professors, the invitations, the plane ticket sitting half booked on his laptop, the life that had already begun moving forward without asking anyone to finally recognize it.